Alright, today we're solving Leetcode's contains duplicate challenge. A naive approach for this problem would be to simply brute force it with two nested for loops. This solution would have a big O of n squared time complexity and constant space complexity, but we have a couple of better optimal solutions that we'll go over. For our first approach, we're going to sort the array of numbers and then utilize the sliding window technique. This solution has a big O of n log n time complexity and constant space complexity. Here we have example 1 from Leetcode. We'll start by sorting the array of numbers. Next, we'll loop through the sorted array and we'll keep track of the current number and the next number. As we iterate, if at any point the current number is equal to the next number, we'll return true because that means we have a duplicate. If we make it through the for loop without returning true, we'll return false because that means the array contained only distinct numbers. In this example, the for loop doesn't even make it past its first iteration because we have a duplicate with the number 1, so we return true. Let's translate this to code. Okay, we'll start by sorting our nums array with the built-in sort method. Then we'll set up our for loop. We'll initialize the index with a value of 0. We'll check that the index is less than the length of our array. And then we will increment our index once the code block is finished executing. Inside of our for loop, we'll store the current num in a variable. And we'll also store the next num in a variable. For our if condition, we're going to check if the current num is equal to the next num. If it is, we're going to return true because that means we have duplicates. And then finally, if we make it out of the for loop without returning true, we're going to return false because that means we have an array of distinct integers. And that's our solution. Let's copy and paste this into Leetcode. Okay, let's paste it in here. Hit submit. And we get an accepted solution. For our second approach, we're going to utilize a hash map and a couple of non-nested for loops for a solution that has a big O of n time and space complexity. This is a pretty simple and straightforward approach. The first time we loop through the array of numbers, we're going to build a hash map that contains the numbers as keys and their counts as values. Then our second for loop is going to iterate through the hash map, and if a key's value is greater than 1, we're going to return true. If we make it through the second for loop without returning true, then we're going to return false because that means every number in the array is a distinct number. Let's translate this to code. Okay, we'll start by initializing a variable called hashMap with an empty object. We'll set up our first for loop that's going to iterate through the numbers of our nums array. If the number already exists as a key, we'll add 1 to it. If it doesn't, we'll initialize it with a value of 1. Next, we'll set up our second for loop that will iterate through the keys in our hash map. We'll check if the key's value is greater than 1. If it is, we'll return true. Finally, we'll return false if our second for loop did not return true because that means we have an array of distinct integers. And that's our solution. Let's copy and paste this into Leetcode. Okay, let's replace our previous solution, hit submit, and we get an accepted solution. Thank you for watching.